Okay, so this has been on the back burner for a while. I've wanted to talk about this ever since the weekend where we initially saw the comments made. So I apologize, firstly and foremost, that this is kind of outdated. But today what we're doing is talking about the QUINN HUGHES and Cale Makar. Do I want to say Norris race? Yeah, that's probably the right way to say it. The Norris race at the moment, and what Cale Makar had to say about QUINN HUGHES during his appearance on After Hours. Now, if you know the CBC Sportsnet After Hours format, you know this usually takes place on the weekend. Of course, this is from a few days ago, but After Hours is pretty much a Q&A done with NHL players in an extended capacity. It's not a quick 5-minute hit where the reporters ask a bunch of questions that are super simple. Scott Oak usually does a pretty good job in finding questions from Twitter and using those questions as the material in an extended interview after whatever hockey game is on during Hockey Night in Canada. Pretty standard stuff. However, when it comes to what Cale Makar and QUINN HUGHES have been up to as of late, these two are pretty much neck and neck now when it comes to the scoring lead for defensemen. You've got QUINN HUGHES, who is first in the NHL in D-man points with 33 and 23 games, and Cale Makar is right underneath him with 32 points in 21 games. So you can see based off of the math, I mean, QUINN HUGHES has more points, but Makar has a better points per game. Makar has 1 more assist, Hughes has 2 more goals, and the lead that these guys have on the third-place defenseman in scoring, which is actually Filip Hronek for crying out loud, is quite substantial. These two, Hughes and Makar, are in a 2-horse race. And they're so good that if you go over to the NHL in points, hey, guess what? Nikita Kucherov's first in the NHL. He's got 37 points on the year. JT Miller is second with 35. And then right away you have Hughes and Makar in third and fourth, followed shortly by Pastrnak, Panarin, Elias Pettersson, Point, McDavid, and Draisaitl. So there is a really strong case that you can make for either Hughes and Makar to be in this Norris conversation. We talked the other week about how annoying it was that QUINN HUGHES had this statement season where he would be breaking records and doing all these things, but Cale Makar would always be right behind him, catching up and, in some cases, even overtaking QUINN HUGHES. We had that Bobby Orr stat that Canucks fans were flaunting around like crazy. Well, guess what? QUINN HUGHES is not the only guy to get that done now, as Cale Makar went out there and did it too. Here's the stat with the graphic over here. Here's a list of defensemen to record 30 points in their first 20 games played. You've got Bobby Orr, Paul Coffey, Al MacInnis, John Carlsson, Ray Bourque, Doug Wilson, and then QUINN HUGHES and Makar. Yeah, that's pretty great. Furthermore, you have yourselves another stat. This was tweeted out by the NHL's PR team. As we hit the quarter mark, QUINN HUGHES and Cale Makar rank 3rd and 4th in the Art Ross Trophy race, respectively. They're both on pace for 120-plus points. For what it's worth, a season has never ended with multiple defensemen among the top 5 in points. And the stat even further down is crazier here. The 23-24 season is the first in the NHL's modern era, so since 1943-1944, to have multiple defensemen amongst the top 5 in points entering the quarter mark. Now, for me, I didn't realize that the NHL is a quarter of the way done already. I mean, yeah, time flies, doesn't it? Speaking of records, here's another one that was posted yesterday. Cale Makar has set the record for the most assists in the month of November by a defenseman, and this encapsulates the entirety of the NHL's history. Now, sure, you could say that games in November will help you out tremendously. You kind of have to have the calendar guys, the people who schedule these games, on your side if you wanted to get a month of November that stands out amongst the history books. It's a very particular stat because it's so dependent on how many games you get, but Cale Makar did set the record for most assists in a month of November by one defenseman in NHL history. He scored 20. Overtaking the 18-assist November that Ray Bourque had in 1984, and then the 17-assist November that guys like Denny Potvin, Borje Salming, and QUINN HUGHES ended up getting. Yeah, that's right, QUINN HUGHES was right up there in the record books with this November defenseman stat, but then Cale Makar decided to overtake him. How great. I mean, the Vancouver Canucks are playing a game, tomorrow? So we'll see whether or not QUINN HUGHES has it in him to take over this list, but I think the Colorado Avalanche are playing again tomorrow too, so yeah, that's going to be great. But when it comes to Quinn Hughes and Makar, these two are dominating. They are so gosh darn good. And when it comes to how the response has been from these athletes, here's the comment that I'm making this entire video about because of. Panda Baletta went out there on the Cale Makar After Hours program on the weekend, asking Cale this. Have you heard about some guy called Quinn Hughes? What is your take on him possibly competing with you for the Norris? Now, the question is kind of phrased in a tongue-in-cheek, snarky kind of way, but Cale Makar responds with total class. He goes out there and pretty much says that Quinn Hughes is an incredible player, and that what stands out to Makar is how smooth Hughes can be. Makar then says that, yeah, like we played him the other night, and it's always a joy to watch how good he is, how smooth he is with the puck, and he's a very important player for the Vancouver Canucks. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go ahead and listen to Makar's response on Quinn Hughes. But this is also one of the things that I think makes Makar such a standout athlete. The humility here. Like, the question phrased this entire thing as sort of a battle, saying, hey, Hughes and Makar, Hughes versus Makar. Hey, Makar, how do you feel about going up against Quinn Hughes? And Makar straight up responds in the answer saying, yeah, I don't really look at it as like a 1v1 battle, but he's a very good player, and an important one for Vancouver. Ah, man, is it not so difficult to go out there and hate on Cale Makar? This guy is such a likable person and such a likable personality when he's getting interviewed, and he is so humble that even as a Canucks fan who's trying to go out there and cheer for my guy and Quinn Hughes, it is definitely fun seeing the talent pool that exists amongst the NHL's blue liners. In fact, the commentary that we talked about, the Cale Makar quote on Quinn Hughes, was posted onto the Our Canucks sub. I wanted to go out there and read some of the comments made by Canucks fans. Cale's a classy dude, Durs133 says. The reply here says, yeah, I mean, this is the guy that asked the referees to rescind a tripping penalty on the other team because he fell down in the zone. I'm Team Hughes through and through, but it's hard not to like Cale Makar. Further replies, one of them says this, he seems like a cool guy too. I'd love to see a pairing with Hughes and Makar. He's just so good at every single part of being a defenseman. And he's a righty. Also, Makar was the one who took the ceremonial face-off tonight, so I expect he'll be named captain whenever Landeskog's contract is up and he officially retires. And then we have ourselves another piece of analysis that I like a lot. Take a look at what Rulian96 goes out there and says, if they do an East versus West All-Star game, they gotta put these two together on the same pairing for once. I really want to see how that looks. Could you imagine Quinn Hughes roving around the offensive zone setting up Cale Makar for a one-timer, or vice versa, because Quinn Hughes can shoot now? Can you imagine how these two guys would just totally turn on the cycle, the spin cycle hurricane amongst other teams and their defense? Boy oh boy, Quinn Hughes and Makar. That'd be great. But either way, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire Hughes and Makar thing. I kind of have to keep on making videos about it because it is one of the top storylines in the NHL. Not that I'm complaining at all. I love talking about this stuff, especially considering my position in terms of talking about them, you know? Like, we've been making videos about these players for years. Back in my senior year in high school, we made a video talking about how good Quinn Hughes was going to be. We talked about Cale Makar as well. We talked about how good he was going to be. Then we talked about Hughes versus Makar in college and the Hobie Baker and all that stuff that was going on over there. It was always such a great argument to be had, and it's carried over into the NHL. Sure, it's pissy and annoying whenever Colorado Avalanche fans interject with any sort of Quinn Hughes conversation by saying, yeah, wait, no, hold up, you can't be happy about Quinn Hughes. Like, my guy's better. Cale Makar's so much better. It's always turned into a Makar versus a Hughes thing, but I think Cale's right. We should be looking at this more like it's a Hughes and Makar thing rather than a Hughes versus Makar thing. So, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Hughes versus Makar debate right now. What are your thoughts on how Makar responded to everything going on here? And what do you think these two guys are going to do in the next few days' worth of games? We got ourselves one more, I'm pretty sure, on both sides to end off November. Does Quinn Hughes have a 3 or 4 assist night to bolster himself to the top of that November stat that we were talking about? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.